How bad did it get?
It got really bad. There was really like no communication.
Living in the same house?
We were in the same house, and I had made up in my mind, I said, we're just going to be roommates.
Oh,
I made an internal vow that we're just going to be roommates. Not going to really say too much to him. He doesn't really say too much to me. We don't really do anything. We don't really go out. It wasn't intentional. We didn't try to make it work. So I just said we're going to be roommates. And that's really what we were for a long period of time. We didn't have any conversation. He slept on the couch sometimes. I slept in the bed. We were just merely existing.
What's up, real ones? We are back with another episode. I'm your host, Henry Fernandez, and today we're talking to a remarkable woman who has walked through one of the toughest seasons in her life, a season of separation and uncertainty. But through it all, she remained grounded in her faith, holding on to God's promise to restore her marriage. Now, after 8 years apart due to marital struggles and infidelity, she and her husband rekindled, and now their restored love is a beacon of hope for many others. Now, we are honored to share her story with you today. But before I introduce our guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Also, consider supporting us by watching and or listening, if you will, to the entire episode. Share it with a family and a friend and leave us your comments. Always do that. And of course, consider donating to our podcast. Information is right there on your screen. Now, it takes a team to bring you all of these uplifting, I should say, content, and we can't do it without your help. Now, let me introduce my co-host, Carleen Wright.
Hello, we are
back.
back.
How are you, Carleen? You're back.
I'm
We're
great.
back. All right, so I'm going to introduce our guest now, the one and only blessed, anointed woman of God, Ericka Caldwell-Clinch. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, there's so much about your life story. We had an opportunity to hear about you, and we had to get you on the podcast. Now, there's so many people are watching today, and listen, I want all the couples, whatever you're doing, stop. You need to listen to this. And for those of you hoping to get married, you're going to need this today. So I have the first question I want to shoot before my co-host, right? So we're talking today about against all odds. Your story is a story of faith that saved your marriage. So tell us about the first few years of your marriage and what happened that caused that separation. Because everybody walked down the aisle saying, for better, for worse, richer, for poorer, and they want to live happily ever after. What happened to you?
First of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. I can't even tell you the reason why I got married. You know, it wasn't anything I was like out to do. However, I fell in love. And then I said, okay, let's go ahead and get married. My first few years of marriage, they were pretty tough because neither one of us knew how to navigate marriage. And we did not invite God into our marriage. It was just something that we did. I was what you can consider to be a lukewarm Christian. I went to church, but I did not have a relationship with God. And so it was something to do. We were just a couple. We were just married. We weren't intentional about our marriage and our relationship. And then I didn't understand the power of prayer and covering my marriage or anything of that sort. And then the enemy came right on in and hit us hard. And infidelity hit. And so that's where the separation came. And it was a hard road, very, very hard road. But it's a lot that came along with it. And I learned more about who I was in God, who I was as a person, as a woman, as a mother. But I know we're going to get more into that. But, you know. Right.
How did you first find out about the infidelity?
Oh, okay, yes. So
are we going there? We going there.
Just jump right out the box and just get right there. Well, I first found out about it. Things just started not to add up.
Right, you started feeling something.
You know, you just started to feel like.
They say a woman knows.
Yeah, we know. We do. We do. And if you're sitting out there saying, that's not, you know. Things just did not add up. Money did not add up. Time did not add up. Mm-hmm. Every day he was not coming home right from work. It was always, because we lived south, he was from the north part of Miami, but every day he had to go north for some reason.
Right. The math.
The math wasn't mathing. And so I just started to figure something isn't right. And then I remember my grandmother saying, don't go looking for anything because you're going to find something you're not ready to see. So I really didn't go looking for something. Our phone bills were connected. And so I looked at the phone bill and I started seeing numbers that just did not, that's not my number, that's not my number, that's not his mama, that's not his sister, that's not. Ignorant at that time.
Right.
I called the number, and every number I called, there was a woman that picked up the phone. I said, wait a minute, hold up. Something's going on here.
So did you talk to her?
I asked one of them, who are you?
We'll back up a bit. You asked one of them?
I asked one.
I thought it was just one.
I asked, well, this was early on in the marriage, right?
Okay.
This was early on. And I asked one over the phone, who is this person?
And what she said?
He cuts my grass. That's what she said.
What's his business? He did lawn?
He did it sometimes.
Okay.
It just wasn't mathing. It just wasn't working out. So I did not
Right.
go into attack mode.
Because that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I didn't.
Because, as a woman, here it is, you're finding that your husband is not telling the truth. You're finding that here's another woman's number, and you call her. Was there any given time anger?
Oh, of course.
How did you manage that?
Well, I didn't take it out on her. I went straight to him. And, of course, it was, you don't know what you're talking about. And then it was kind of like that passive thing of, well, why would you be looking at those numbers? Why would you be calling those? So it was kind of like it was a your fault type of thing. You shouldn't have been looking, and you shouldn't have been doing that. And again, this was early on in the marriage. So this was before separation.
Year 5?
No, this was like year 2, year 3. Oh, this was early on.
2 years.
Ericka,
Yeah.
I have to back up just a little bit. Did you see any of these signs while you guys were dating? Because I know you weren't like spiritually connected to be praying, but did you
No.
see signs?
We dated 3 years. Now, to answer your question, I'm much younger than my husband. I probably did not look for the signs because I was in love. That was my first time being in love. So he could have said, the sky is green.
Yes,
I would have been like, if you really look at it, and you tilt your head this way, it really does look green.
Right.
I got you.
You understand? So that's where I was at that point in our dating. I didn't really look for it. I didn't see it. So, and honestly speaking, if I would have seen it at that time, I probably still would have gotten married because I was knee-deep in love.
Wow. Now, let's pause here. Given all of what you just said, you were young, you dated for 3 years, he's older than you.
Yes.
If there's a young woman watching right now, and she's young, and she's kind of like either dating or being married, and your story is making her think, what would you say to that young lady?
I would tell her, number one, listen, you're going to have to pray about everything. I just have to say that much. You're going to have to definitely pray about everything. And you're not going to, he's not going to have every single aspect of his life together. That's the very important thing for you to understand. However, if you're seeing these red flags, you're seeing these red flags before, especially something dealing with infidelity. He can't be faithful. Marriage magnifies that. Marriage magnifies it. You're not going to want to go and get into a marriage, into a covenant, and you already see it right now. That's not something that you want to do. And so it's very, very important that you take your time with it. And number one, you need to be in position, because he that findeth the wife findeth the good thing and obtain favor with the Lord. Women got to be in the position and to know, like, did God send me this man? There are counterfeits.
Right.
And I pray these dangerous prayers, or I prayed once I got, married and started seeing things, understanding more. But I teach my daughter this: God, if he's not for me, remove everybody out of my life that is not for me. It's a dangerous prayer, but it works.
How bad did it get?
It got really bad. There was really like no communication.
Living in the same house?
We were in the same house, and I had made up in my mind, I said, we're just going to be roommates.
Oh,
I made an internal vow that we're just going to be roommates. Not going to really say too much to him. He doesn't really say too much to me. We don't really do anything. We don't really go out. We didn't really, wasn't intentional. We didn't try to make it work. So I just said we're going to be roommates. And that's really what we were for a long period of time. We didn't have any conversation. He slept on the couch sometimes. I slept in the bed. It was just, we were just merely existing.
Wow.
And so it got really bad to where God spoke to me, and he told me in a dream that there was another child out there. And so I said, I went to him and I said, I'm seeing another child. I'm seeing another baby.
Wow.
You don't know what you're talking about? You don't know what you're talking about? Hey, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, okay, because I'm still early on my walk at that time.
Right.
So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But then the dreams began to get really intense, more and more. And I'm seeing a child, and money is leaving out of the house, and I'm just like, hey, I keep seeing a child. Then one night, I heard very loudly, child support, and I jumped up out the bed. And I said, I heard child support. You don't know what you're talking about? Da-da-da-da-da. Lo and behold, there was another child.
But isn't this crazy that, and we pray that women of today could be like you, that you didn't say a girlfriend told you, somebody, you heard it through the grapevine. You said God showed you.
He showed it to me.
That there was another child, and it was
accurate.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That the Holy Spirit can lead you.
Yeah.
That even though he was denying it, you knew you heard from God.
And this is the amazing part about it. When I kept asking, he kept saying no. It was like a 2-year period. God said, don't say anything else. Don't ask anything else. Finally, at that time, I had my second son, my second child, my first son. 5 days after my son was born, the Lord said to ask him now. He's going to tell the truth. And at this time, my relationship with God was really, really growing. So I'm telling you, I'm spending time. I'm spending time with God. And so I finally asked him. I said, "Do you have a child?" He should be about 5 years old at this time.
What?
That's what you told him, the age of the child.
He should be about 5. And finally, he said,
a lot of guys are scared of you. Like, I want a wife like that.
and he said, yes, I do.
Wow.
And immediately, what shifted off of him came onto me, and I began to carry that because I understood my husband loves his children. When I tell you he loves his children, because he's older than me. And there were 2 other children older than my children that were in the picture when I came into the picture. He's 11 years older than me, my husband is. And so it immediately shifted off onto me. And it was such a weight that was lifted from him. Like, I can breathe now because there was child support.
Going out.
There was child support going out, and he couldn't really see the son. He couldn't really be involved in his life as he wanted to. I know he did.
Right.
And God walked me through that for years, and it was so hard. It was difficult. Oh God, it was life-changing. It was difficult because I had to carry that, and I ended up torturing myself until God brought me out of it. And I saw him, and I met him about 3 years later, and I instantly loved him.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Yeah.
Now, you know, if I wasn't a Christian, I'd say you crazy. You know,
Yeah.
because you know, we hear about the love of God, the forgiveness of God, you know, and that's why we needed you on the show today, because I really think it's a podcast, but it's ministering to so many people, because your story, so many people can relate to it, whether it's infidelity with a child or just infidelity on a whole. So when Shayla came on the show doing a podcast with us, and she said, you know, she spoke about you, and, you know, everybody in the studio was just acting crazy, even me. I was like, because it just, the story just like, who does that? You know, so I want our viewers to take a look at this, and we'll come back and we'll have the conversation. So watch this.
A woman of God who went through a triathlon in her marriage. Wow. Like, her husband had left for 8 years, was with a whole nother woman, and she stayed at the feet of God and honored her husband until he came back home.
What?
Okay? So if there's anybody that's going to tell me about how to run a marathon in marriage, I'd rather hear it from that person.
Wow.
And how I know is because she was one of my prayer partners.
Oh, wow.
She waited for how long?
8 years.
Not 8 days, 8 years.
For him to
Not
come,
8 months.
For him to come
not
back home?
8 years.
And he came back home?
And he came back
Maybe
home.
she thought he died.
No.
And she
no,
opened
no,
the
no.
door?
She saw him with the other woman. The other woman. No.
And she opened the door?
She opened the door because it was bigger than her.
That was her
And
assignment.
now
He had a whole other family.
they are doing marriage ministry together, sharing the real, because there's a lot of men and women in the church
Yes, ma'am.
who may not physically drift, but they are already emotionally tapped out. They are just roommates in the house, and they come to the Faith Center and they pretend.
Yeesh.
So because of that, it wasn't just the emotional, it was the physical. So because of that, I said, if there's anyone that I'm going to learn from, because I saw her go through it.
Wow.
And I honored her through it. And I made sure that I wasn't familiar with even the moments of her that were human. And I said, I need to sit at your feet and learn.
We need
This level of tenacity.
we need to get her on the podcast.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
We need to get her on the
Absolutely.
podcast.
So it's you know, the man had a child outside.
Yeah.
5 years,
Yeah, he was about 5 years old.
right?
The same age as my daughter.
Same.
Because I had an older when you do the math,
There's a lot of added, you know, addition for me. My brain can't.
I'm sorry.
I can't figure this out. So when you apparently when you were pregnant.
I was at the end of my pregnancy. She was at the beginning.
Wow. So I understand. Okay, it got so bad that he left.
No, I actually put him out.
You were bad.
Yeah.
You
Well,
put
what
him out.
happened? And I don't say that honestly. I don't say that to boast or anything of that sort. Because to me, I believe that when I put him out, I really put him out into the enemy's camp. And I did not. If I can go back
You
and
wouldn't have put
change the hands of time, I would not have put him out, because even though I did that, God used it to build my faith even more, because I could not see what God was doing on the backside of the mountain for those 8 years. But it opened up a wound of rejection that he already had, and I rejected him. Even though there was a child outside and the 8 years that we were separated, that's not the mother of the child outside. This was a different woman, the 8 years. It opened up a wound of rejection. And so even though with the child outside and the other woman, what weighed more heavily on him was the fact that I put him out, because it opened up a wound of rejection.
Wow.
And he could not, for the life of him, he could not get over that because Ericka, the one he loved, regardless of everything that was going on, put him out. And I did. And it started there, those 8 years of God developing me even more.
Wow.
My faith now is at a place that I can't even, is unexplainable because what God did for me in those 8 years. I was broken down because I had to move out of where I lived because I couldn't afford it anymore by myself, and had to move back home with my mother.
Yeah, we're going to talk
Speaking
about
that. Yeah, I was going to say your personal growth. I'm thinking so much over here, Ericka. You know, one, I've been through a similar situation. Different facts, but, you know, ended in divorce. I'm so glad that yours ended in reconciliation, you know. But with your personal growth, I need to find out, like, what did that journey really look like? Because I'm thinking forgiveness. At what part did you really accept that I'm forgiving this man? You know, also, how did you really prepare yourself for the reconciliation? Because all the facts are there. And women, we know we don't let these facts go.
Yeah.
Because there's other women, there's a child, and then there's everything that's happening in between that you're seeing, the account, the receipts not coming home. So all of that is data that's building up. So what did your personal growth look like, and how did your faith really take you through the real moments?
I believe that God will place people in your life that can see further than you. And so God placed a wonderful woman, a mentor in my life that lived almost like the same thing.
Wow.
Because at that time that this happened, people were not getting up saying, hey, my husband cheated on me, and I'm standing and trusting God for the reconciliation of my marriage.
Right.
No one did that.
No.
So she was really like my only point of reference. And there was one other ministry that was out there. But for the most part, God put me in a class by myself, and he was the teacher.
Wow.
And he walked with me step by step. My personal growth, I had to be stripped and broken down to be built back up. God had to teach me to see my husband as a soul.
Wow.
And not his faults, and not his shortcomings. And God had to also show me and tell me who he was going to be in Christ, not who he was right then.
Wow.
And so it took a lot of discipline, a lot of prayer, a lot of, when I tell you I was so knee deep, I would be in the closet like for hours, and I did not even, I can cry right now, I'm sorry. I didn't even want to come out. And so my mentor would say, Ericka, you gotta come out. And I'm like, but I don't want to.
Wow.
And I can remember being in the closet, wailing, crying, and my mom would be sitting on the side of the bed like, what's happening? Because
Right.
my mom didn't understand.
Wow.
She didn't understand what was going on, but I was being processed.
Right. No, Carlene asked the question real nice, you know, what was your faith like during that, you know, but I'm just going to go straight.
Just go straight to it.
I'm just, you know, were there moments you were so angry that you wanted to hurt him? You know, I mean, what, because I'm trying to tap into the human side.
No, I got it. Let me say this much. I remember going to the place of saying, now, I'm not saying it's okay.
Right.
But I understand why people bust the windows out your car.
Go to jail.
You know, and honestly speaking, I remember saying, That scene in Waiting to Exhale when she lit the car on fire and walked away.
I just thought about it.
I started watching that and I started saying, I get it. I understand. And going through that closet.
Go to
so
the
don't
gas
ever
station.
think that,
Get your gas.
you know, because you're going through these things that you're just super, you know, super saint and you don't have that human side of you.
That's the point I was
I have the human side of me. However, I have children. That's what kept me. Because Ericka
got a twin.
Ericka, you know, but I had to be like, you know, somebody has to be here for the children.
Right.
And so, yes, I said before, I can understand why people do that. Before I would be like, oh, she's crazy, you know, why would she do that? And da-da-da. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened to make her do that? It's not right, but something happened to make her go there.
Triggered her to do it.
Yes.
Yes.
And anybody that says that that's not the case, they are lying.
It is the case.
They are lying.
No, it is the case. We're going to soon talk about him returning, but I want to just step back for a little bit, Ericka. Was there a point where you blamed yourself? And the reason I ask this, because having gone through, I've walked through this season of infidelity. My ex-husband cheated for years, right? And as a believer, you know, you're holding on to so many scriptures and all of that, but then there are times when you're thinking to yourself, maybe it's me. You know, maybe I don't look this particular way. Maybe I don't have this. Like, was there a moment where you turned it internally and you started to blame yourself for everything that, you know, he was doing?
I wondered if, because I've never been a small girl. I wondered if, you know, was I not small enough? Was I not pretty enough? Did I not cook enough? What did I not do? And then once I got the revelation of, it's not anything that I did. Now, what I can say also now, I was not a real big communicator with him. Like when he would come in the door, my husband likes to talk about his day. How was his day at work and this, that, and the other. I would be like, he'll come in the door and I'll be like, light bills due.
Telephone disc.
Telephone, you know, I was like, the light bills due, and he'll be wanting to say, hey, Ericka, this happened today at work, and I'll be, yeah, okay, I had a hard day too. Yeah, okay, light bills due. That played a role. Because guess what? I wasn't listening, but she was. She was listening to his day.
I wish I had these sound effects. You know, these sound effects. Oh, boom, drop mics up.
Yeah.
You weren't listening, but she was listening.
She was listening.
Jesus.
That's a whole...
Yeah, and that's the thing that we don't want to talk about. We don't want to say that, but she was listening. She made him feel like a king.
Wow.
When me, I was talking about the light bill. I was talking about this. I was talking about that. I was talking about this. So now... that man can call me, and I run a whole school.
Right.
I don't care if I'm sitting in front of the superintendent. The phone rings, sir, excuse me, I got to take this. Because I understand how important he is in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, fast forward, you broke up. What was the reunion like? What led to what? Take us, because this is a movie right here. It's a movie right here. What happened for you? Or first of all, was it you who initiated the getting back together again, or it was him? And how did it happen?
Man, it was a journey. It was a journey, and I can't say it was. He always knew that I was standing for the reconciliation of my marriage, because he was in a whole nother relationship and they were actually living together.
And you knew that?
Yes.
And even with that, you were still believing God.
Because I had a promise from God. I had a promise. Nothing.
And you got past your feelings.
I got past my feelings.
Your man was with another woman.
That is
Yeah.
hard.
And
you still believing God.
I was still
that he gonna come home.
Yes,
What month were you born?
Right?
What month were you born?
I was born February.
Oh, see, not October, because I was like, livers ain't having that.
You're getting to the signs now.
Yeah.
What?
No,
Oh
once I
my
had
God.
once I had that promise, and it didn't come from just one person. It was from several people that
Wow.
I didn't even know.
This is
I
amazing.
was going to ask if you had confirmation from
No,
others.
I
or was
tell
it
you,
just
I had
you?
confirmation from people. I could walk into a grocery store, and there would be people that I did not know that would come up to me and give me a word from the Lord. I had words from the Lord that were pouring out of my ears. Wow. And so when I had that, to answer your question about what it looked like, God was so amazing that we became friends in the 8 years, because there was a time frame that we did not talk to each other.
Right.
He was so hurt that I put him out. He would not take my calls. He would not. He wouldn't take my calls. He would talk to the children, but he would not speak to me. And initially I was offended until the Lord said, "Ericka, it's your light. You can't get upset. It's your light. I'm doing something in this. Calm down." And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, God, you're going to do what you're going to do. So I didn't worry about that anymore because I had that promise from God. But I believed God. I didn't beg him. I did not say, I love you when you're coming home. That happened at the beginning. But then it got to the point where I was just trusting God for the promise. And I said, I'm going to follow the wisdom of God in this. And God gave me wisdom steps to take. So we became friends. We talked and we laughed. We talked and laughed. Now, he's living with someone else.
I'm glad you repeated that. I'm glad you bring that to the table.
I really want for people to understand, because there's somebody out there that's in this same position, and you have a promise from God, and God has told you that he's going to restore your marriage because there's a purpose for your marriage.
Yes.
And what you see in front of you right now just doesn't make any kind of sense. So we became friends. We would talk. We would laugh. We would talk in the morning. We would talk in the afternoon. We would talk. I mean, it was
like a new relationship.
A new relationship, but we were
over.
friends.
Oh.
But God had told me through one of my covenant sisters that, Ericka, he's going to come and he's going to have the clothes on his back. He's going to come. I had a circle of sisters around me, Shayla being one of them. And they would pray with me every Monday night for about 2 years straight.
Wow.
They never judged. I had to be very vulnerable with them, and I had to tell them, this is where he is, this is what's going on.
Good
and
friends.
They prayed with me and prayed me through. And when I say suddenly, it was a suddenly. God started showing me, because he was making his exit plan. He was making his exit plan to come out. And the reconnection, the restoration, wasn't peaches and cream. People think it's peaches and cream when you come back together. But I had become so independent.
Right.
And I didn't understand him being back under the same roof. Because everything God promised me, he did in that time frame. He promised us a house. He gave us a house.
Wow.
He gave us a house.
Wow. Wow.
And so it was hard for him, because he came back just like the prodigal son did.
Wow.
Not thinking that he even deserved to be in his place as the king of the house.
So when he came back, walk our audience through it. He came back to the door, or you agreed. Did he just show up at the door, or he called you, said, "I'm coming home"? Or
Well, what happened was we were moving things from, my mother had passed away, and so we were actually moving things from my mother's house. So he was helping to move, and
move himself in.
no, he
Cut the lawn.
no, he was helping to move.
Yeah.
But then, she called him and she knew what he was doing, and so she basically just, in so many words, hey, if that's where you want to be, then that's where you be. And so at that time, I said, come on home.
Wow.
So she gave him an ultimatum.
Wow.
Come on home.
Wow.
With the clothes on his back, come on home.
Wow.
Wow.
And so God taught me how to build him back up as I learned how to submit
Wow.
to him, not what he did, but to submit to who he is as my husband.
This is powerful. Very powerful. Here's the million-dollar question. How would you describe your love for your husband now?
Oh, I love that man.
Oh. We can see it.
Y'all jealous, right? Y'all jealous.
Yeah, we can see it.
They watching it like, oh, God.
I do, because
Wow.
he is, man, that's my
We
boo.
see it.
See it. She's like, that's my boo.
That's
That's
my
my
boo thing.
baby. That's my man, my man, my man.
We talk all day
Oh,
long. We talk all day long, and he's my best friend.
Mm.
And so we talk about everything. And the thing I wanted to say also, if I can, in the time of that separation with the children, God taught me how to teach my children how to still love their father
Wow, that's
That's
wonderful.
and not know what he was doing, where he was, or anything of that sort, so that when he came back into the picture, he came back as if nothing was even, like nothing had even missed a beat.
Wow.
That is good.
Wow.
Because they knew to pray for him, they knew to love him, they knew to honor him, they knew to respect him, they knew to do that. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. You have to be very careful when it comes to the children, especially in this situation.
Yes. And it looks like God restored healing for the children.
He
For
did.
both of you. So
He did.
comprehensive work.
He did.
So what would you say, Ericka, looking back, what was the most rewarding part of the journey for you? How has God's hand moved in your life and in his life? As a couple and individually, you know?
Individually, for me, he developed me as a prayer warrior, as an intercessor, and he developed me as a prophet in those 8 years.
Wow.
I learned who I was in those 8 years, and no one can tell me anything different. My husband matured, and he learned about the importance of who he is as a man of God, as a father, as a husband, as a son. He's a better son to his mother. He's a better brother to his sisters.
Wow.
He's a better uncle. You know, he's a better friend. He understands that better now, even when he was out those 8 years. And then together, as a couple, he understands and is understanding that even what he went through, he has a purpose, because there's going to be some man that's going to leave his family and think it's better outside instead of being with his family and doing the purpose of God.
Now, I believe that God allowed you guys to go through what you did. So the question is, what are you guys doing to help struggling couples?
So my husband supports me 150% in the ministry that God has given me. I minister to wives and to women. My husband supports me 150%. He's like, I'm not ready to talk yet. You know, you do all the talking. You got the mouth. But guess what? The word is already spoken.
Right.
He will be ministering to
right,
men,
right,
and we will minister together. It's already out there.
Right.
But I minister to wives, I minister to women, I minister to them, especially if they're in a tough season in their marriage and they're believing for the reconciliation and the restoration of their marriage. Because now I am their reference point to show them on the other side. This is what it looks like over here, and this is what you have to do to try to get on this side over here.
Wow. So do you have like weekly, monthlies? How's that?
I have a small group I work with every week. I have individual coaching that I do. I'm going to be, God now has opened up for me to start ministering to women who want to be wives, because initially when they came to me, I was like, no, get away from me. I only deal with wives. And then God was like, Ericka, what are you doing? I'm sending them to you.
Wow.
And I said, okay. So then they started coming. So now coming up in January, I'll be working with women who want to position themselves to be a wife. Because it's more than what you see on TV.
Wow.
Yes.
This thing is serious.
Serious, right. Yeah.
It's not a game to be a wife.
What would you say to the people as we're wrapping this up? Women who have had bad relationships, they've walked away from the guy, really don't desire to be back with him, but they're hurt, broken. And because of that, it's affecting them to have healthy future relationships. Because, you know, the amazing thing about your story is that you are the prime candidate to be the bitter woman. And you had every right to. But how God used your story to restore you, to make you a more confident woman, positive, to bring healing to his life. But there are women who, okay, I don't want to be back with him, but you know what? All men are dogs.
Yeah.
All men are this. What would you say to that woman?
I would say healing, internal healing is so very important. If not, you are going to take what the past relationship did into the future relationships, and then you're just going to be bitter, and it's going to snowball into other relationships, not just male, female. It's going to go into people don't want to be around you at your job. People don't want to be around you at church. People don't want to be around you in your family because you're just a bitter person. Healing is so very, very important, and for you to understand who you are in God, that's number one. I would say to them, see, we don't want to talk about, we think there's like an elephant in the room. We don't want to talk about Christian therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't want to talk about that, but the grief therapy I went through after my mom passed away, grief took me there, but she began to unfold some things in me that helped me even in my marriage, in my relationship with my sisters, in my relationship with my children. So I would say to seek healing from someone that really knows the word of God, that can help you to heal from the hurt, because not every man, woman, not every man is like who you were with before. And so I think that's important. And I want to say something, too, because that's something you all said the last time about the side chicks need to be saved. Yes, I want to say.
Speak on that, please.
I want to say, if I can.
Oh,
God has given me a...
side chick
and this
ministry?
it's not a side chick ministry. But what it is that God helped me to understand where they are and what's going on with them. And that if they only understood their purpose and what God has for them, you have to be missing something to be in love with someone else's spouse. And to really like even try to come after the wife who's done nothing. Who's done nothing to you, but to come after the wife because you want to be in the place that she's in. And so I believe that God can use her because she would have to minister to someone else that's going to try to leave, you know, who God really has for them to go after somebody else's husband. God's not going to send you somebody's husband. That's important for you to understand.
Wow.
But God loves you right where you are.
Wow.
That is so very, very important.
Carly,
That is so good.
Any last minute comments?
Well, I want to commend you, Ericka, because like, you know, Henry was saying, you had the opportunity to be bitter and to really have a different story. But what you're doing right now, like, it just warms my heart. And even so, to see that you have empathy for the side chick. Like, that's big.
Yes.
You know, that is big. So, I mean.
Normally they will be crucified.
Crucified, but God loves everybody. No, but, you know, so I definitely I'm happy to see where you are and just a blessing to hear your story.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
I mean, you did an amazing job, and I'm quite sure there's so many of you who are watching have been blessed by it. So thank you so much for joining us today and for being a part of this powerful story of faith, restoration, and love. Now, we hope this testimony has brought you hope and encouragement, reminding you that no situation is beyond God's ability to restore. So remember, healing and transformation are possible even in the most challenging times. So please, we ask that you subscribe, hit that notification button so that you can know when we go live with an episode. We want you to leave your comments. Tell us, what do you think about Ericka's testimony? And do you think, you know, maybe a question. Can I put it out to all my followers? A question. Do you think she should really, really improve and make sure a ministry, she give birth in a big way to this ministry of talking to wives, because it is so needed? Because so many times when women find themselves in that situation, and there's a few men too, few men who the wife is the one who's in the act of infidelity, don't know how to handle a situation like that. And at the beginning of the podcast, I really wanted to talk a lot about your emotions, the human side, because not everybody handle it your way. you know, the anger, the bitterness. So leave a comment. What do you think? You know, we need to hear from you. Please share this podcast with somebody in your family, a coworker, a friend. And as always, we cannot do this without you. So would you donate today? The information is right there on your screen. And this is Henry and Carlene, along with Ericka, saying thanks again for watching. We'll see you another time in another podcast.